If your speech boring and your audience low-key snoring and everything that could go wrong does, it's practically raining and pouring, and all you want is for the crowd to say, man, I adore him or her, bottom line, you're going to be heard because you're the leader and they're the follower. In today's video, I'm going to be telling you how you should be opening your speeches. And I'll also give you a few objectives you should try and smash, try and complete with each opening in order to have a successful opening. To a speech, to a presentation, to a live YouTube video like this. But before that, who is this eloquent, young, charming man to be standing before you and telling you what to do? I'm Luca, and at the age of 18, I've already delivered speeches in front of 2,000 people. I've competed in public speaking competitions, I've lost, I've won, I've received standing ovations. People have given me compliments and praise, and they've asked me how I do it. So now I help rising leaders deliver high-stakes, magnetic speeches. And in today's video, I'll be focusing on openings. Let me grab a sip of this. My throat's quite dry. So I have a few objectives here. I just have a few bullet points there. And there's three things we need to focus on in the opening of a speech. One, we need to break patterns. Two, we need to try and make our audience laugh within the first 30 seconds of a speech. And three, we need to connect. Let me write that down for us here because it's actually quite important. So we have an opening objectives. One, break patterns. Two, make them lol, make them laugh. And three, connect. And let me go into a bit more depth on each one. So with breaking patterns, the reason I put it at the top is because breaking patterns leads way into making them laugh, and then making them laugh leads into connection. So breaking patterns early and quickly, that's the most important thing. And so if that means it's the littlest of things here, right? People will look, we're used to certain speeches. We're used to certain meetings sounding like this. We're used to certain leaders speaking like this. We're used to presentations sounding like this, and there's a baseline here. There's what we're used to. There's a typical, there's a mode, there's a mean, whatever the statistical term is here. We're used to X. And so if we want to go a bit above that and be a bit better, a bit more memorable, a bit more eloquent, a bit more charming, a bit more whatever you want, the world is yours, yeah? You have to risk being a little rogue. You have to almost break the pattern here. You can't identify with these boring leaders, these boring speakers, presenters, news reporters, these robots who just have the same monotone, one tone, and they just read and they say, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to another meeting. How was your weekend? Mine was amazing. No, you need to break patterns, all right? And if that means starting off your speech with howdy, saying hola in a YouTube video, if that means beginning it with a random little rap, if that means listing three things and starting with a middle finger and then saying two and then saying three, do it. So be it. Just please break these patterns, because bottom line, at the end of the day, it's boring. You can do anything you want. Let me write this down. Quote me on this, bro. It's either me or Shakespeare who said it, I don't know. You can do anything. If only my board didn't shake so much. You can do anything you want except bore your audience. Luca Bazooka. You can do anything you want except bore your audience. And if that means you have to come across as potentially a little cringe, and God forbid, show a bit of your personality, a little bit of your humor, a little bit of your weirdness, a little bit of your... I was about to say something which I can't really say on YouTube. It starts with the R word. But a bit of your personality, expose that a bit. And yeah, it's kind of like a nerve. Yeah, it might be a bit painful, but everything you want is on the opposite of that. Appearing a little cringe, raising your voice, experimenting with your voice, almost acting slightly flamboyant in your speeches with your hand gestures, so be it. Just please break patterns, because you can do anything you want except bore your audience here. Let me just make sure. You can do anything except bore your audience. You can play safe and sink into boring category, or you can take risk and not be boring. Right? Have a little random pun. Have words that shouldn't really rhyme, but you made them rhyme. A random little dad joke. Just break patterns. You need to understand that. Break pattern. Breaking patterns is how you switch your audience on. If you can break it instantly, quickly, you immediately engage your audience. And once you have their quick attention, immediately joke. 30 seconds. Boom. 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 And then you connect. Naturally, you connect. Breaking patterns, then humor, then natural connection. Don't follow what everyone before you has done or what we all used to. People don't know what they want until you give it to them. They don't know they want someone with vibes who can make them listen to what they have to say until you give it to them. Why am I blanking now when the pressure is on? If you can just understand this and remember this and apply this to your speeches, to your presentations, it'll go a really long way. Simply be a bit weird, be a bit potentially charming, be a bit out of the ordinary. Just don't be boring. All right, come across as a little stupid one time. Because at the end of the day, if everyone just hovers around here, everyone just hovers around there, and yeah, you sometimes might hover, and you might appear a little dumb, and you might drop down. But everything, the connection, the authenticity, the relatability, the appreciation for something finally a bit refreshing in a speech, everything you want is on the opposite side to gain. If you just come across as a little dumb there, a little silly, quirky, everything you want is to gain here. That's all yours. And you can only get that high if you drop this little low here. And no one else here, yeah, they might not sink as low as you did, but they'll never get as high as you did. They'll never get that connection. They'll never get that human, natural, charming authenticity, that magnetism. They'll never be remembered. They'll never have any of that. But you will, simply because you were prepared to drop down. All right, so just please break patterns. Next up, I have make them laugh. Let me grab my whiteboard cleaner. Holy moly, I thought it was going to fall on me. We have to make them laugh. Within the first 30 seconds. And there's different techniques, things we can do here. But bottom line, humor is your own. It's something which is personal and authentic to you. And I wish I could tell you, hey guys, here's this one line you can say which has 100% success rate, works on any crowd, and it makes them wheeze to death. But there isn't. But there's principles to humor. And above all, the number one principle, the baseline, the cornerstone, the everything of humor is it has to be unexpected. And I'm going to write that down here. How to humor. The bottom line here is unexpected. And I have storytelling notes where I talk about how to create humor. There's two different methods, the techniques, principles. If you want those notes, if you want to read up on that, or if you want me to just help you with any questions you have, check the link in the description because it's free. Back to the video. Humor has to be unexpected. Now, there's different openings we can do here to try and quickly get the humor within the first 30 seconds. Obviously, if we break patterns, we can potentially get some humor there, get some laughter going. 1, 2, 3, random pun, a little dad joke here. There's something just being charming, quirky, little weird, silly, that can potentially give us humor. But then we have different lines we can say. And so let me first begin with one which isn't my own. I heard it from Yasir Khan. He makes YouTube, Instagram videos talking about how to speak like a CEO. That's his kind of vibe. And he has this scenario or this line where he says, he begins with the story. When I was in the orphanage visiting, that's already a little unexpected. That's already a joke. When I was in the orphanage, ... visiting, people tend to laugh there a bit. And that's a bit unexpected. There's another line, which is, I thought about saying it, but I never used it, so I can't tell you it works. But the idea here is, in ChatGPT, when you ask it something and he says, yeah, sure, here is, and then colon, and then whatever. So I was thinking, good morning, everyone. Yeah, sure. Here is a speech on how to impress your audience. Yeah, sure. Here is a speech on how to make your audience love you. In your next speech. You get the idea here. We're just going to try and make it sound like we AI'd this whole thing. Or another example, a clear-cut example of humor through unexpectedness or the element of surprise is when you say something like, good morning, everyone. Hope you all had a great weekend. My weekend was lovely. I spent time with my baby brother. He's cute, he's squishy, and man, is he an asshole. It's things like that. Pairing two things which don't really go together. Baby brother, cute squishy, asshole. Does that make sense? So it's all just about, in a way, making them laugh and creating humor through the element of surprise is kind of like breaking patterns, but the objective here is make them laugh in 30 seconds. That's an objective. And if we can smash that quick within a speech, we're on the right track. If we can break patterns quick, Hola, everyone. And immediately catch their attention. If we can make them laugh right after that, boom, we have this massive, this is a road, we immediately create this huge tunnel. That's the road. We immediately create this huge tunnel for connection. Boom, we can immediately just insert whatever we want, all the information we have, all the authentic personal stories and whatever we want to tell them, we can immediately insert whatever we want in there. If you want to insert yo guys, avocado stocks from Woolworths dropped by 1,000,000%, we're all gonna die. You can shove that in there if you want, just because you broke some patterns and you made them laugh quick. So we immediately create this huge tunnel where we can just shove whatever we want down their throat. As opposed to just a little tunnel. Good morning, everyone. Today I'm going to be telling you why avocado stocks dropped by 1,000,000% and why we're all going to die. So we can break patterns quick and make them laugh quickly. We can insert whatever we want there. Next up, we have connection. Let me quickly erase this. Jeez, I don't know where to hold it now. I'm still kind of a noob when it comes to the whiteboard. Next up, we have connection. I was already talking about the tunnel analogy, but once you open that tunnel up and you make it as big as you want, connection is kind of like a vehicle. And if the bigger your tunnel is, the bigger the vehicle you can go through it. So if we have that little tiny one, if we only have this little tiny tunnel, like a bicycle can go through that. But then if we have a big, massive one, we can fit a whole bus. And if we have here, we can fit Optimus Prime in that thing. You know what I'm saying? So the more patterns we break, the more we make them laugh, the bigger we make this tunnel, the more we can connect. And I found that the best way to connect with an audience is through storytelling. The best way is stories. And I have exploited this to my advantage forever. I've used stories in communicating to people, getting first impressions. I've used it in interviews. It is so overpowered. I use it in every presentation, every speech, every meeting. It is sublime. And if you're not using stories, you're missing out. Stories are what bind all three of these objectives together. Because stories break patterns, because they're unique, they are subjective, they are personal and authentic to you. Break patterns, immediately unique. If you tell a story about yourself, no one else has told a story about you because they're not you. So immediately we break patterns. Immediately you're not like everyone else. Immediately you stand out. Make them laugh. There's techniques we can add to stories. Check the link in the description for the free notes because it's free. And then connection. Since a story is so human and personal and real and hopefully potentially vulnerable, and you expose something about yourself and it's a relatable realization, people naturally connect to that. And when they hear that, they love it. They eat it up. Stories are so overpowered. Yeah, that's basically it. They build rapport, they build connection, and they're just so authentic. It is just so authentic. And I'm yet to think or hear or come across a presentational speech where it's worse without a story. If you tell a terrible story which exposes a bit too much about yourself, or your punchline isn't strong, or there's no realization or transformation, the notes cover all of this, by the way. If you tell a story where you don't have that, and you tell a really bad story which just naturally makes your entire speech worse because the story was so bad, then okay, I understand that. But if you have a speech, I can't think of where a good story doesn't make it better. I can't think of a speech where a good story doesn't create more rapport or connection or humor or relatability or break patterns and is remembered. I'm yet to find an example like that. So the framework which I've talked about on this YouTube channel before is always begin with a story. So that'll be your number one. And then your number two will then, from the story, and you end with a realization, that is when you transition into your message, into your research, into your data, into your whatever you have to tell people. But the way we open the speech is the story, and the story binds all three of these objectives. And if you tell a successful story, which is unique, which follows the laugh, 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 cry formula, which has a deep realization at the end and shows transformation, you connect, you make them laugh, you break patterns, you have a successful opening. And the story is just the vehicle for how we achieve all three with one big ass punch. And the better our opening, if we can achieve all three objectives, the bigger our tunnel or doorway for connection is. So then once you make it really, really big, you can just take all your message, your data, whatever you want them to hear, and it goes in there seamlessly. Because you've already connected, you've already related to them, you've already shown, hey guys, you've already verified you're you verify that you're a human. And so that's the video. If you need any help, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me, because I really want to help you here. But that's been the video. I hope you got some value from it, and I hope it was useful to you, and hope to see you in the next one. Adios.